So we just went over this whole entire presentation, and we talked about a lot of things. We talked about a lot of terms. Now I'm here to basically summarize this whole entire presentation in a few minutes. So we began with the analog age, the digital age. We covered like a lot of things in regards to what, why is it computers that prefer digital rather than analog? Why is it easier to process digital on computers? And why is it better to transfer data over analog? Which is pretty amazing stuff. Then we continue to talk about modems, that they modulate, that demodulate, that between modems is all analog, but between a modem and a computer, it has a digital connection. Between the wall socket that goes straight to your cable provider to the modem, that's also analog over coaxial. So yeah, it's something very important to know the difference. Also, we talked about networks. Really big thing. There's a lot of stuff about network we talked about. We talked about the LAN, the local area network, what it entails, what is it about. We talked about WAN, the wide area network, about what it needs to be made to be a WAN. We talked about MAN, the metropolitan area network, and what it needs to have or what it needs to be in order to be called that. And we also have pictures to represent these specific networks, so it'll be easier for people to see what I mean when I describe these specific types of networks. Then we had other examples of networks like peer-to-peer networks. We talked about client-server ones, about you have a server as a centralized connection where a computer asks for information, it requests information, the server gets a query, and then once it authenticates the computer as a user in its LAN, then it gives out the information. For a peer-to-peer network, it basically excludes the server and everybody acts uh, as a data collector. Then we also talked about very small things about switches, routers, the things that are needed, components that are needed in order to make the network happen. Um, Moving along, we talked about networks, topologies. We talked about the star, the ring, the bus, the tree, and the mesh networks. These networks all work. No matter what you do, however you configure them, they all work. But each of them has their own advantages and their own disadvantages. In today's world, we all prefer the mesh because it allows everybody to connect at the same time, and there's no single point of destruction or like of if one computer goes down or a router goes down, then everybody goes down. None of that happens with a mesh because everybody connects to every single router, everybody connects to everything. Then we moved along to wired communications media. Wires and cables, twisted pair, coax, fiber optic cable. We talked about wireless communications in frequencies, what frequencies, from what frequency to what frequency and what they do. We also put a picture here, so ensure that people are aware about these things. Also, we talked about what happens when you reach an access point at a restaurant. When you reach, you get the SSID, you get the password, and you access that access point. We also know what happens when you use your cell phone to talk to another cell phone over using a broadcast tower, and then also when you call to a landline. Again, we talked about a GPS and why is it important for GPS to continue the way it's continuing. GPS is a huge thing, and that's why it is needed in the world because not only are first responders using it, but also we as users, like Google Maps, we go from point A to point B using GPS, and this is also enabled to us using networks as well. And then finally, we talked about cyber threats, hackers, and safeguards. We talked about cyber intruders, trolls, spiders, hackers, malicious hackers. Described about the differences of all types of malicious hackers. We went over to thieves, employees, outside partners, hardware thieves, con artists, scammers. We also talked about cyber attacks and malware, and talked about a whole different load of them. In addition to that, we also have online safety ways to make our antivirus software better, passwords better, and also biometric authentication, encryption, which is the future. Okay, we also talk about public and private keys, which make encryption happen. We also talked about concerns and privacy and identity theft, which is something that we all needs to be aware about in order to make our lives a lot better. Other than that, that concludes my presentation. I really hope everybody enjoyed it, and please let me know if there's any way to improve my presentation in the near future. Thank you. My name is Ricardo Velez. Happy holidays.